Hello, welcome to the EFM podcast. I am your host, Justin Waring, and with me is Wade Brady. Say hello, Wade.
Hi, how you going? Good.
And Jason Hahusius. Jesusius. I knew I was going to stop that up. That's okay. So we are three guys in fitness, and we're here to help you along with your fitness journey. We will provide some health and fitness, some gym-related exercises, a bit of dietary advice where we can along the way. But to get started with our podcast journey, we thought we'd introduce ourselves a little bit over the coming weeks. You don't want to hear us gibbering on constantly over the next 10 minutes. So I'd like Jace to introduce yourself first, and then Wade and I will go next over the next few weeks. Jace, tell us about your journey into fitness and how it started and how it's going.
Good question, Justin. So I did my fitness course, certificate 4 and diploma in recreation and fitness in 99 and 2000. That was obviously over 2 years, and about halfway through that second year, I got introduced to doing some work with EFM health clubs. That grew into something a little more serious, managing one of their clubs, and with that came the opportunity to purchase that club. So
20 years in fitness.
24. Yeah, close to. Yeah, I had a little break in the middle for about 6 years. Walking the earth, I'll say. But yeah, bought my first club in 2001, swapped clubs in 2004, had a break in 2010, and returned in 2016 here in my current club. So that's the short version.
So we went with you first, Jace, because you're the elder statesman of us three. Maybe age, but just in terms of tenure in the fitness industry, Wade and I are spring chickens. So thanks for that, Jay. So, all right. So we want to jump straight into talking about what we're doing currently in fitness. So Wade, what's got you excited at the gym at the moment? What are you guys doing a lot of?
I've always been mostly about the functional strength training. With the bit of a middle-aged demographic we have, I think that's going to serve most people. We obviously work in all the other elements with, cardio, fitness, balance, try to get as much out of that 40-minute session as possible. What's standing out at the moment? Just did another functional training course on the weekend, and it's just ramming the point home that what I'm doing is on track, and I don't think it can ever really change, because as long as we're using our bodies outside of the club, we want to, keep them strong and functional.
So what is that? So because we hear that a lot, functional training. What does that mean exactly?
It is
for the person who has no idea. Functional is just another buzzword. What does that mean?
It is a really good question, because some of the functional movements we say are a 101 functional movement we don't actually do every day, like a push, a pull, but more things like walking we do every day, so the gait pattern, squatting. We don't do it all day, but when we need to use our body on the weekend, gardening, lifting stuff around furniture, traveling, lifting.
Like squatting down to pick something up and then
squatting
grab it.
Something down. Just, it's everything that we do, movement, we try to emulate that and add resistance to it. So when we have to do it in life, we just do it easier, and the body's familiar with that movement, and it's not going to break when we ask it to perform that task. So it's a tricky one. I could have done some homework. No, ask me that one.
That's a really good explanation, like functional. So all the functions that we do every single day, we're replicating in the gym under some kind of load.
The lift breaks down. Now I've got to take the stairs. If you've never taken the stairs before, you're going to be late to work,
Yeah. And when you're gardening, like, so, I'm a gardener too. You've got to go bend down and grab a bag of soil because you're potting things out. So you've got to be able to get down and then lift it correctly so that you're not pulling for your back because something's cracked in there, and so that kind of stuff.
A lot of it,
and getting up the next day.
Getting up the next day, yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's not just not just making the task easier at the time, but it's safeguarding you against injury. As you said, getting up the next day, your back's all stiff and sore. What did I do yesterday? Well, you asked your body to do a functional movement that it hasn't done for a long time. So,
yeah, fantastic. Jace, what about you? What are you guys doing?
Wade, you had a really good answer, mate, and that is the heart and soul of what we do. I guess a focal point for me, especially since having a little trouble myself over the last few years, is centered around the hips and the glutes, and I guess just observing what our members go through and what mobility challenges they have day to day, whether that's from a lack of strength through their hips or a lack of mobility through their hips, and what trouble that causes them. I guess trying to put something in every day that's going to help them improve their hip strength, improve their hip mobility. Because if the hips are strong and the hips are mobile, it tends to flow on to so many other things and prevent other issues down the line, whether that's up the chain, further up the body, or down at the knees and ankles. So, I would say that's not just at the moment. That's not a fad. I think that's thinking about longevity and improving people's health span. So at the end of the day, that's for all of us. That's what it's all about, right? Is helping people improve and live better lives and be stronger. So
so in terms of what we're doing currently, what I'm excited about. So I'm preparing for a marathon. I have done one in the past, and it was ridiculously hard for anybody who's tried to run anything over a couple of hours. And I've also got a few other people in the gym with me who are also running marathons and doing half marathons. I'm in Sydney. We just had the City to Surf, and plantar fasciitis seems to be at epidemic level. So we've just found in the last week a nice little technique in terms of, the common remedy for plantar fasciitis is to roll the ball underneath your foot. So we've found a little stretch that we do, which I might do a video of and put in the show notes underneath, where we hold the ball underneath the ball of the foot and we stretch the toes up and down. So it's a little bit uncommon. I haven't seen it in too many places online or when we've been to courses and things like that on plantar fasciitis. It's really, really painful if you've never had it. So we've found this tiny little technique where we hold the ball under our foot and then stretch the toes back and forth, and it's kind of really reducing the pain for everybody really, really quickly. So I'll do a quick video. Not that people want to see videos of my feet too readily, but I'll do a video of myself and put it in the show notes. So if anybody is suffering from plantar fasciitis, and you'll know who you are because you'll get up in the morning and won't be able to put your foot on the ground, I will do that for you, and hopefully that will have the same kind of effects it's having, positive effects it's having for us.
Justin, can I ask you a couple of questions about that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So first question, is that something, that particular stretch, is that something you discovered yourself, or did somebody put you onto that? How did you come to learn about that?
No, it's a variation on what is the common remedy. The common remedy is to roll the ball underneath your foot, and also to stretch the big toe. We want to stretch out, so without getting too complicated, the fascia and the underneath the foot. So we tend to try and stretch the big toe to relieve the tension underneath the foot too. So we added the two together.
Okay.
So
and after doing that, sorry.
Yeah, a little bit of trial and error with it.
Yeah, okay. All right. And in doing so, that the benefit is once you've done that, what's happening at your foot? How's that feeling?
Yeah, so the day after, the reduction in pain was significant.
Sure.
And then 2 days and 3 days down the track, further reductions in pain. So got one lady who's now woke up this morning and no pain whatsoever, just 3 days in. So really kind of exciting. Very small sample size. I'm not ready to write a medical paper at this point, but nice and exciting, and something that I think will benefit people, particularly if you're a runner. You tend to end up with plantar fasciitis, so something that will be benefit.
It just sounds so rare to find a quick fix like that. So well done. Well done.
Yeah, well, and look, in amongst all the other stretches and things we're doing, but this has just been a slight change that we've made. And look, I'm sure someone else has done it somewhere in the world, but it's something that we can add to people straight away.
And when do you do it? Like, is it before you run? Or is it when you get up first thing in the morning? Is it all of the above? Like, when do you do it?
Yeah, look, during a gym session. So we did a session this morning, and then afterwards, everyone should be stretching or doing some kind of cool down. It's part of our cool down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The guys
Fantastic.
have it. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful, but realistic that most people don't stretch. But I'm hopeful that it might inspire some.
And I've got a quick question as well. With the people you've tried this with, are they all doing long distance running, or some are just getting it in general life?
Look, it's the season, and the guys that have been suffering, and it's probably just coincidence. The guys that are doing a lot of running have been experiencing it, and they're in the gym currently saying, well, how do I fix this? What do we do? So look, I'm sure there's people out there with plantar fasciitis who do not a lot of anything. So if they happen to stumble across this, then it would be a starting point for them.
My own observations there is it's common with people that spend a lot of time on their feet and people that wear high heels consistently as well. So,
not many of us guys, but
not here to judge.
Not here to judge. All right. So, look, Wade, just going back to the functional fitness, and you touched on there about the way we what we do in the gym. I wanted to ask a question around how you write, and I think we should all join in here, how we write programs. So if you look online, if you go onto Instagram, there's a whole bunch of exercises. Here, do this. This is my chest day. This is my back day. Blah, 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 blah. Can you give us some insight on how you write, and Jace, you too, how you guys write programs, and maybe a structure around how we make sure that we get those functional movements in a session, so that it's not just picking random exercises that look cool.
I'm glad you asked, because a lot of time and thinking does go into it. So I wish more people did ask. So but you could jump on AI now and it can make a program for you. But it's not going to tick all the boxes. There's quite a few things that we do consider when we design a program. So you want to get your 7 functional movements in there. So you want to keep it balanced. So there's balanced in all sorts of different ways. I'm not talking about tightrope walking. I'm talking about, if you do a push, do a pull. If you probably want to work your body evenly. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But all the functional, you might have to correct me here, fellas, but the most common one is your gait, walking. So there's a bunch of exercises that can relate to walking, stairs, balance can be worked in there. Then you've got twisting. I've started with the 2 that we are probably, as a industry, the twisting one's probably not done as much as it could be. And then your simple pushing with your arms, pulling with your arms. You've got your squat with your legs. You can actually do push and pull exercises with your legs as well. Your hip hinge movements. And what am I missing? So we're going through and making sure that it's evenly spread across all those movements. And there's other things like the flow of the program. You don't want someone, I don't know how far you want me to go into this, but you want it to flow well. You want it to flow well because you don't want people standing around like waiting. You've got to keep it engaging. So interesting. And then around the edges of your 7 functional movements, you've also got other things to consider, like just people's core strength, like being able to regress. I always get this mixed up, but being able to make exercises easier or harder, to use simple terms. You might say beginner level, advanced level. Then the list just goes on and on. There's like balancing exercises, which I think they serve people more than they probably realise. I think when people actually do start getting a bit older and they literally do notice their balance is getting worse, They're very interested more than others, but just such a holistic. I'm just trying to get as much into that time. There's also your heart muscle
within like
cardio.
10 or 12 exercises, right?
Sorry.
So within like 10 or 12 exercises, how many exercises would you do in a session?
It varies. That's probably a good number, around the 12 there. Sometimes I get carried away and
So you've been talking for a few minutes, and you know all of that goes into figuring out what 10 to 12 exercises you're going to do.
Yeah, and you want to keep it. You want to keep tricking your body, or keep a better terminology is probably keep providing a different stimulus, so your body doesn't plateau and get used to the same thing over and over. And that's also good for the mind. It makes it interesting. And you know, in our scenario, the way we run our sessions and our model is people come in each day and they don't know what's going to be getting thrown at them, but they do know it's going to be balanced. It's going to be time effective. Like, we're going to try and fit as much into that 40, 45 minutes or a bit longer as much as possible. But all the thinking's taken out of it. That's left up to us. And the programs are not rigid. It's amazing how, not amazing, but I think to some people it's probably amazing that they're so pliable to suit individuals. Have I got off track there with answering that question?
No, that's good.
So what did I miss there, Jason? I'm sure you've...
I don't think it's so much that you missed anything, Wade. I think you've covered things fairly well there. I think what you're trying to get at is that we're trying to move people's bodies in as many directions as possible, safely and effectively. You're trying to give them a good overall workout. So, yes, we're challenging their strength, and you're challenging them in different ways from one session to the next. You're probably also trying to think about your week of training and not just that day's training. So what did we do yesterday? What are we doing tomorrow? I don't want to do the same thing from one day to the next. If we did a lot of hinging yesterday, we don't want to load up and do a stack more hinging today. But outside of that, I think you've really nailed it, Wade. It's plenty of variety. It's making sure you get the cardio element taken care of, and that you're using real movements that people are going to be able to apply in real life, that's going to build stronger, more mobile, more sustainable bodies.
So if somebody wanted to go and do something on their own, so there'll be lots of people at a 24-hour gym. They go walk into a gym and they have no idea what they're going to do. When they've seen people do a bench press, I'm going to do a bench press. If we were to prescribe, say, 6 exercises, maybe 7, and we went through all of those kind of movement patterns, what would we do now? So we talked about pull push. Let's maybe, if we give the random person one piece of advice, here's what a program should look like if you're going to go and do it all on your own. And bear in mind, if you don't get any help and you're going to do it on your own every day, you got to think about it every day. So if we were going to do one push exercise, so let's say upper body. So an upper body push exercise would be a bench press. That's probably the classic one. I'm thinking about a guy, but guys love doing bench press, pecs and, big pecs and big biceps. But in terms of other pushing exercise, maybe a push-up, all right? If we were to do a pull exercise, that's anything moving towards your body, right? What would you guys have? If we stick to, say, the upper body here, what would you guys suggest?
I can go. Yeah. You go, Wade.
So straight away, I think posture, something that's going to help get the shoulders back. Try and undo a lot of the rounding, which we all do too much of. I like the terminology. 100% of the things we do are in front of us. So anything that's going to get the shoulders down and back. So I'd probably say a row. If there's a lot of different types of row. A seated row. A lot of my members like the TRX rows. Is this person going to research how to do the exercise properly? Let's assuming they're going to do that. Do they have that equipment in their gym? But I'd probably say a seated row is a really good one to start with.
Seated row. Yep, that's a basic. All right, so we've done push, pull. We talked about a hinge, just so people, so we want to make sure everyone understands what we mean by a hinge. What's a classic hinge exercise?
A classic hinge exercise is a deadlift. But the disclaimer on that is if you're going off on your own and you've never had any instruction before, and you're getting introduced to resistance training for the first time, I'm not going to recommend a hinge because it's quite a complex movement that requires a fair bit of, coordination and, a foundation of core strength as well. It's interesting you said, if we're going to send someone away to go and do this on their own, but you're breaking my brain, Justin, because part of me is going, I wouldn't suggest going and doing it on your own if you've never done it before. If you are well-versed and you've done all of these exercises before and you are competent, then a great exercise is the deadlift. If you are not, and again, it depends case by case, doesn't it? Because it could be a Romanian deadlift. It could be a dumbbell deadlift. It could be... you might say we're not going to hinge at all. We're just going to squat. We might need to use a supported squat. We might need with a small kettlebell or a dumbbell. Where do we start? Because we don't know that.
Yeah. So this is part of the point, right? So to go off and do it all on your own effectively is really difficult.
Yeah.
And it takes a fair bit of research and it takes a fair bit of concentration. Going and throwing a few exercises together probably won't get you where you want to be. So if you are going to, if for the people who are desperate to go off and do their own thing, if you are going to hinge, I'd recommend actually not lifting any weight and just practicing the movement in the mirror over and over and over and over and over again. Just because it's the best way to get injured by having poor technique. The next movement would be a squat. We all understand squats, but there are easy ways to hurt your knees in terms of squatting. So that would be the fourth movement. We have a lunge.
I forgot that before, sorry.
Yeah, we have our fifth movement. So some static lunges, but again, the technique has to be, you have to be a little careful with the technique just in terms of overall benefit to possible injury. That would be correct, like lunging too far forward, doing a whole range.
Yeah. You need to be able to assess the competency of the person performing the lunge before we say, hey, go ahead and do one. I think you're partly getting it.
And then we have twisting exercises, obviously rotational things, whether you add weight or just do it with your own body weight. And then Wade just spoke about gait, which is walking or walking upstairs, step ups, such and such. So essentially, we all do that in our current gyms, and that's kind of, I guess, we're all in agreement. That's kind of the model that we would use. And if you were desperate to go off and do your own thing, there's the knowledge of the 7 movements that you would like to take up in any kind of program. But I suggest that you go and get some help by somebody, particularly with some of the more complicated moves, so that you're not just doing them in a gym and risking injury. We talk about putting our bodies back together at EFM rather than tearing them apart with exercise. So that's my recommendation.
I guess
absolutely.
Just to add a little bit to that, I'm always looking for analogies to help maybe better explain things. If you think about, we've all been to a physio and we've been given exercises to do. They are hell-bent on getting us to do it properly. Okay, so why do so many people go to the gym and do exercises, and does that see the line of drawing?
Yeah, so tonight I'll add to that, Wade. If you wanted to build a house, you'd go to a carpenter, right? Right, you go to a carpenter. So why would you build your body yourself?
Yeah,
and get no help.
Yeah,
you did me.
That's why he's the elder statesman, Wade. Yeah, the elder statesman. Yeah. All right. So look, wrapping up this episode, I think it'd be interesting. I'm constantly reading books, listening to podcasts, and have different interests outside of fitness, obviously. In terms of what I'm interested in, and if I can give people kind of recommendations in terms of things to listen to, things to watch. I mean, it doesn't have to be overly serious. You know, if I've got a good TV show that I like at times, I'm going to suggest it. But the podcast I'm listening to most often, and I know it's probably very popular, and I know like they have lots of subscribers, The Diary of a CEO, Stephen somebody, Diary of a CEO. He does some really good long form interviews with a variety of different guests and some really high profile guests. And Diary of a CEO sounds as if you're going to hear about a lot about business and how business works, but there's a lot of health and well-being interviews on there. Some really impressive people, lots of knowledge. Throw it on in the car and listen on your way to work. Listen, you know, whilst you're going for a walk or a run. Really informative and things, a lot of things that will make you think about the way both you're living your life and changes you might make for the positive. You guys got anything you're listening to currently?
Not currently, but there's one. I spoke briefly with you guys about it on the weekend. There's a book I listened to called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia, Attia, and it's all about health span. And I think that just speaks to us as fitness coaches. We're trying to help people increase their health span, and he definitely had some very interesting views and thoughts about how to tackle the four major illnesses that take us as humans, and how to combat them. So I think it's a must read for everybody, to be perfectly honest. But maybe I'm a little biased. But anyone who's interested in living a longer, healthier life, definitely recommended reading.
Well, that should be quite a few people.
We hope. That's our audience.
Yes. Wade, what about you?
I was probably looking at it from just a slightly different angle. That's how I operate. Yeah. You know me. I do like. I think it depends where you're entering this realm. If you've got a lot of experience and you feel like I don't need to learn any more about how good exercise is for me. I don't need to see any more research. Like I'm sold. I know. So probably the more
the jury's out, isn't it?
Sorry.
The jury's out, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I've just thrown some money at a new fund run in our area to promote it, and it's a fundraiser to do more research on the link between physical health improving mental health. And I said to the guy, I said, don't we know how much research do we have to do before? So, like, what is the quota? So that if I see one more paper proving it, I'll start. So anyway, I'm thinking I like the stuff that I think's stuff that's actually and everyone's trigger is gonna be different, but Dave Goggins, when it comes to now, he's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but if a lot of people got their gym membership, they're thinking they're getting started, we all know is the hardest part. So I just find every time I listen to this bloke speak, I think about the little excuses, because I'm a human too. Sometimes I don't train every time I should. And when I listen to this bloke, I just feel like, God, that little excuse I was using, that's pretty funny, isn't it? I'm going to get moving. Like, he's inspirational. And we'll talk about this, I'm sure, every episode. We don't like the word motivation because no one's ever got fit relying on or healthy or changed their life just purely on motivation. It doesn't last. But when you need a shot in the arm, like Dave Goggins, anything Dave Goggins, if you do have a listen, just language warning. He doesn't mind throwing a few cuss words around, but that's mine that I'll throw in there. Something a bit different.
He's amazing, really inspirational, isn't he? Like,
and
you just feel lazy listening to him.
I've shared some of he's done lots of interviews and podcasts and stuff. I've heard him on Rogan the 3 times he's been on, and that's a long podcast. And Rogan's into training as well. Whether you align with him or whatever, beside the point. They're both passionate about exercise, so I like you. Yeah, I was going to say, I've shared some of his stuff with some of the people I know and hoping that they'd draw some inspiration, and they've gone, that guy's crazy. And I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go and do what he does. I'm actually saying don't go and do what he does. But if you can just look at what's possible, and then you look at yourself and think, I'm capable of a lot more. I've got to stop using his little excuses.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look
absolutely.
at it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, for me too, one last thing, it's that time of the year and NFL's coming up for me. So I love watching NFL. Here in Sydney, it's on every Monday morning for 17 weeks, something that I'm looking forward to. I'm a big fan of American sports. I know you boys love your NBA, and I watch a fair bit of NBA, but the NFL is probably number one for me. And that's probably because here in Sydney, I follow the Parramatta Eels. They're not very good this year. I haven't won a premiership since
Jason's footy team.
1986. So I'm looking for any little win possible. All right, boys. If anybody got anything else, if that's it, we'll wrap it up for this week, and we'll be back soon.
Good on you guys.
Yeah.
All right. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. And if you can subscribe, add to the comments, ask any questions that you'd like answered in coming episodes. We will look forward to any input that you have and any questions that you'd like us to cover.
Including your reviews.
Yes. Review, subscribe, all of those things. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.